So we're going to start dropping in videos outside of the podcast. I think it's me, I just want to release content, give back.
Yeah.
So we're going to have these where we're just dropping the videos which will come kind of in the middle of the week. So you'll see them pop up on like Tuesdays and maybe Wednesdays, Thursdays, etc. Which hit you in between the podcast, little snippets where we're going to touch on various different topics. So I think today, just going to touch briefly on the importance of the people around you and building your mastermind group. Well, I refer to it as a mastermind.
Yeah. It's about people around you.
And it's the people around you, it's your team, right? So the theory behind it is what there's a saying. I think it's Jim Rohn who has the saying, you're the sum of the 5 people you spend your most time with, right? And I believe that, like, the people you spend your time with can contribute greatly to what you are from a character perspective, the way you act. And different people look at it as a different way. It's been coined in certain things, and I always coin it as your mastermind group. And I've always been quite keen to make sure I establish the right people around me. And I just think for some people, from where they are to where they want to get to, they don't necessarily always think about the right people they've got around them. So they don't clear out the negative influences around them first off. I mean, there are some people I've had in my life where they probably don't realise why I've got rid of them in there. But to me, I've just slowly moved away from them. I'm like, you're too much of a negative influence. I can't have you in there. I don't need to directly approach you and explain to why it is, because I've seen that you can't change. But I can't have you around me. So you kind of filter them out. And so as you're growing up, you know a lot of people, and you start to condense down the people that you're around. So one of those is getting rid of those negative people.
I was going to say, that's probably the first step, isn't it, really?
We just need to get rid of those negative mindsets out of your life. It's too insidious.
Because everybody's going to have those people within a group or a set of friends, even family members, that are going to be negative. So yeah, like you said, it's about, again, it doesn't have to create any real friction. You just start to distance yourself from them.
Well, they bring you down, and you can't have the conversations with them. Right? I've had them before, and family members is good because we all get internal family issues,
friends,
right?
It's not just friends.
And I've run into them before, and you try and raise it, and they get and the arguments get aggressive. And sometimes you're just like, in trying to fix it itself, it can just bring out too much aggression, and it's sometimes it's easier not to deal with it. So that is a key. And when you're building your group, make sure that you remove out those negative influences and you get people who are on the same wavelength as you. And I think for me as well, you need to be, whatever team you're building out, whatever your goal is, there are a couple of things you need to think about. One, building the right skills within your team to move forward. But 2, understanding well, from my personal point of view, there are a lot of people who go out there like, it's funny. So when I was growing up, I had no confidence. Like, I grew up, tubby little kid, like afro and afros weren't cool in a small town, and like 0 game, like literally no confidence. So when I talk to people now and they're like, you're confident, I'm like, yeah, that's just built up over the course of time. But at the same time, when I say to people, I don't ever want to be the smartest person in the room. When I walk into rooms or I have conversations with people and I feel like I'm the smartest person there, I don't want to be there anymore, right? So I think your mastermind group has to complement certain, you have to be aware of, right, you've got some weaknesses, and your mastermind group has to help to build out on those, right? And it has to have those people around you who will be like, Leon, you've done something wrong, and I'm going to hold you to account. I'm not going to pretty up the truth. We've built up a level of trust where if you've done something wrong, I can tell you've done something wrong. I'm going to hold you to account, and you're going to know that you're prepared to accept that from hearing it from you, right? Not someone who you're going to say it back to, and they're going to get defensive, they're not going to accept it, they're not going to want to hear it. And the same thing is when I've done something wrong, I expect to hear the 2 of you hold me to account, right? And say, Ben, nah, you've messed up there, this is what you need. And I need to be receptive to hear that. Like it's like with Eric Thomas who says that if you want to be a diamond, you've got to be ready to get cut, right? Start as a piece of charcoal, you want to get to a diamond, you need to take the cuts along the way. But you need to have those people around you who are ready to be critical of you, who are ready to hold you to account, your accountability partners in a sense, right? So all of those, and again, I'm marking it as putting together your mastermind group as it's been referred to widely. But I just think it's super key to get that at the beginning phases, because you can't do everything by yourself, right? You can set up with the best endeavours to say, yeah, I think I'm going to do everything. But if you don't start to build out your team, what you'll realise is you may be able to get there, you may be able to learn all the different skills, but it's going to take you 10 years when you could have built a team and done it in 2.
Yeah.
So I think it's really key, and I think we've noticed over the course of time. I think we've built our internal mastermind group out here. I've got a couple of people extended outside of this that I keep in, and then you've got the people who they're my friends, but I kind of wouldn't go to war with them, so to speak.
Yeah.
So it's about switching the two out, because you can have a big friends group, but then with regards to where you're trying to get to, you have that kind of closer knit circle.
Well, that's important, because I've got a big circle, and you see loads of people that always say, keep your circle small, keep your circle small. To me, I'm just like, look, if your circle's small, that's good for you. There's nothing wrong with that. But there's nothing wrong with having a big circle if you identify and you know what it is for what it is.
Yeah.
So I've got a group of friends that I know will support me in loads of different things, but they're not necessarily going to be the ones that are going to drive me to achieve my goal.
Yeah.
So I know that my mastermind group, in that sense, I know who those people are.
Yeah.
Like what you're saying is, you don't want to be the smartest person in the room, and that's the same with me. I like to be around people that I know I can learn from, that are going to push me, that are going to drive me. You know, there's a 20, how old are you, Dean? 24, I think he is.
Yeah.
24-year-old guy that I know. When I say that he is driven, and me and him will have conversations on the phone, because I know what I'm going to receive from him is going to be positive for me to do what I want to do going forward.
Yeah.
And likewise for him, when he speaks to me, he also gets from me what he needs. So it's a sort of give and go.
It's give and take.
Yeah, give and take. And I'm valuable to him, he's valuable to me, but that's identifying and understanding that.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that he's more of a friend or any better than somebody else that I've got in my circle, but like I said, it's just identifying what purpose some people have in your life, and then being able to drive forward with that in whatever you want to do.
I think the key is at some point you build it up, and you have to take a focus to build that mastermind group and that close-knit group of people. So at some point in time, you need to take stock of what's going on in your life. So you need to take a review of the people that you're spending your time with. If you're really clear about you really want to get towards your goals, and you've laid out, and we've touched on in recent podcasts, how you define your goals and how you want to get to them, and your underlying why, then you need to be building out your team. But you need to be prepared to know that you may analyze the people that you're spending a lot of your time with, and you may realize they're negative, you may realize they're not going to hold you to account, or they're not pushing you to be better, because in their lives they're comfortable, and that's cool. But you need to make sure that your group are all seeing in the same direction as where you want to go. So if you're all aspiring for more, you need to fill yourself with the right kind of people who are also aspiring for more, right? So you need to be prepared when you're going to carry out that review. It's like an internal audit of your life and what's going on. That there may be some hard decisions where you need to cut out people that you've built up relationships with, friendships with over the years, but you realise in some instances it's unfortunate, but you may need to actually just cut them out completely, or in other instances you may just need to reduce the amount of time that you're spending with them. So it's a bit of a mix and match.
I think the time is the important thing, because that is what we've talked about, in the sense that we've got a certain amount of hours in the day and we need to use them wisely. And I think allocating a certain amount of time to different things is going to be the key thing. So if you've got a certain group of friends that you know spending more time with them is going to get you here quicker, then I think that's maybe what you was going back to when you was talking about maybe not cutting them out completely, but allocating your time better.
Well, it's a mix, and well, when I say, because like I say, you will find that some people, their effects on you are insidious, and you do need to cut them out completely. You just straight do. And maybe you've been avoiding it for a while. I know that we've got instances where we've had it in the past where you try to give chance after chance after chance, and then you realise, do you know what, I need to make a clean break. And sometimes that's just what's necessary, but this is what I mean. When you're going to go and take that review, you need to be prepared. All right, so if I find that there is somebody who's in my life, who doesn't need to be there as part of me building up the key group of people around me in my support network, then you need to be ready to cut them out. If you're not ready to make that decision, there's no point in carrying out the review, right? It's just pointless. Because you're going to say, right, I've identified them, you get 5 years down the line, well, I had negative people around me, but you knew that. You could have cut them out, right? So it's a decision-making point in time. For me, it's never really been an issue, because I slowly build up the right people, and indirectly you just start to focus your time with more people. You eke out who's good in what specific areas. So it's never been too much of a problem for me, making sure I surround myself with the right people. But at the same time, people come into your life, you can't stop coming into your life, so you need to be able to look them out. So for me, I just think it's another one of those. It's an essential principle that you build at the start. Don't try to go everything alone. Understand you will need a group of people around you, but when you're mapping out that group of people, you're making sure that they're the right people to take you from where you want to be. And yes, you can have a bigger circle, but I would say you're looking to keep it towards your 5-6 people, because if you extend it too far past them, you can't spend a huge amount of time with 10-20 people.
This is, we're talking about the mastermind.
But that's what I mean. So you want to keep to a relatively small group. You're 5 people around you, because you can allocate enough time. You try to stretch it out too much, then you can't spend enough time with them to actually influence you. So I would say, there's nothing wrong with having a large support network, but with regards to your actual group of people you have around you to help succeed in your goal, you want to keep that quite closely knitted, and just make sure that you set up those interactions, you spend those times with each other, you build up your almost internal principle and guidelines. I will hold you to account, and you just understand, and then you build forwards from there, and then they become the people that go on your journey with you, right?
Can I ask a question? In regards to when you build up your mastermind group, isn't it important also to understand their skill sets and what they bring as well, and also understand yourself, so what you're lacking, so then they can provide an added balance or an added skill set that you might not possess?
So we'll probably touch on this in a separate episode as well. But I'm fully a believer in you need to be aware of your strengths. I think sometimes too many people get caught up in they want to be strong at everything, right? Now again, when I say confidence, people will find it weird if I say I'm not good at something. I'm not. There's a ton of stuff that I'm not good at, right? But I'm not trying to concentrate on that. I concentrate on what I'm strong at personally, and then I build out a team. When I came to you guys, right, I'm looking at, I'm going to be engaging people and setting things up, so I know you're good in closing off deals, engaging with people, right? Now I'm good, I can engage with people, but the closing off deals part, not particularly my forte. So when you've got your business development and you've got your finance side, don't get me wrong, what I like to do is I get myself up to a degree of competency in any area. So like finance and accounting, I've read some basic books on it, so someone can't kind of mug me off, or have a better word, like I can take me to school, but I don't want to be skilled in it, because I could waste all of my time educating myself in everything in the world. One, it's going to take me years and years, or I'm just going to become a jack of all trades and not good at anything, right? So when you're building out that team, that kind of extends just not solely in your mastermind group, but when you're building out a business, I always feel to myself, don't try to be good at everything. Understand what your strengths are, understand where your weaknesses are. Where your weaknesses are, you make a decision. You might want to educate yourself in that area. I would say don't try to educate yourself in everything, but then pocket out, okay, well this is an area I need to recruit in. This is an area I need to bring myself into a team. When you're building a mastermind group, there are core principles. I think you have to have somebody who are going to bring some of the core disciplines in there, the motivation and drive to keep you going, the accountabilities, and then once you build outside of that, sure, you definitely bounce off, and you have to make sure that where you've got strengths and weaknesses across the board, you should have strengths, but not in everybody. Our level of strength across the team is based on a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person, a little bit from this person. And it all comes again, you need to understand, once you understand your goals and where you want to go, then you understand what you need to get there, and you use those to build out your team. And then you do the review of yourself. Right, what are my strengths? And fully power on at your strengths. And then just say, right, I've got where my weaknesses are. Now I need to go and get somebody in for that. Like I say, don't try to convince yourself that you're a one-man team and you need to do everything, because again, yes, you may be able to do it, but you may take 10-20 years when you could have just gone and got the right people. You get 5 people, you can reduce that down to the area where you can go with what you're trying to do. You can reduce that down to 2 or 3 years, because your strength is across your team, not across you as an individual. So I think it's definitely key that you need to consider both when you're building them out, and becomes even more critical when you're building out your business team.
But that's like self-awareness is probably something that we're going to touch on.
That needs its whole
in a podcast.
And we'll pick up on a podcast, and I'll probably pick up on another video that we're going to do. But I think that is one of those where outside your mastermind group, that needs its whole, because that is a key discipline as well.
But you need that in identifying where your weaknesses are, and being true to yourself. And then knowing that, you can then go and find other people for that.
And so we'll bring that up in another one going forward. I think that covers us for the mastermind group, and we'll catch you on the next videos coming up.
Cool.